Hey guys, back at another week of the handoff.
What up?
Here with Antonio, Ethan,
Yes,
the
sir.
boys.
Yeah,
So
man.
another week. We had DK run this past weekend. We had Rai with his season opener in the 400 hurdle. So a lot to talk about this week. So
We had Ethan finishing his finals.
yeah,
Round of
just finished up
applause.
finals this week. It was a good week. Yeah, we'll give it a little round of applause. No, it was a good week, but next week for those watching on YouTube, I'll have a different background because I'll be back home. I'm going back home to Jersey tomorrow.
Yes,
So
sir.
next week I will be doing the handoff from my personal room. So yeah, so it'll be a good bit of a hectic week, but nonetheless here for some good quality track and personal life content. So yeah, so
hmm
DK this past weekend, 10.36.
It happened.
He ran at the Golden Games. He had some good competition with Crayon Gillespie and all these guys, and he pulled out a 10.36. And
hmm
he exceeded my expectations. I thought he was going to run
Let
10.5.
me just say, bro, if I can find the clip, I'll put it in. But excuse me and Ethan's it's been a crazy couple of weeks, so I was struggling with getting stuff out as well. But we talked a little bit about our predictions on what his race was gonna be. I said 10-4.
I
Ethan
think I said
said
10.5. If
10,
we
I
could
thought you
pull
said
out the
10-6.
clip, I said 10.6.
I'm pretty sure you said 10-6.
Oh
You might have
gosh.
not, but that's
Well,
what I thought,
you
right?
see, I didn't expect him to do as well as he did. I'm thinking, okay, these
I
guys are
did.
180, 190 pound sprinters. This man's is 230. I got
It's
to give it to him.
because
His drive
that's
out
what I
phase saved
said,
him.
bro.
If he
That's
did
what I
not
said.
drive out as well as he did, that's would
That
have been
was
it.
his bread and butter in the race. And I told you because I ran the 100 and I watched him
You see,
practice.
and that's
And I
why I run the 400.
yes, and I said it, and I was like religiously looking at his film. I broke it down, but my freaking iPad was messing up, so it didn't get what I did. So I had to scrap that. But I did a whole in depth like analysis on that thing. So I said he drived out pretty well, man. He came out strong, just as strong as majority of the athletes in that race, which is
Yeah,
impressive to me. But he did come up way too early. It wasn't a smooth transition. Kind of like what I said. I was like, I think he kind of looks robotic. It's
yeah,
pretty hard. You have to practice. Like, it takes a pretty in-depth training, and it takes time to like develop the frequency and like the smoothness that a track athlete does. And
yeah,
I compared it to Craven Gillespie's same race. I think he was in lane 6 and DK was in lane 2.
yeah.
Or
He
might
was
have been,
either in lane 6 or 7.
yeah.
Yeah,
And his race was, I think if he didn't win it, he got second. Um, he ran very smooth. So he came out, he drove right out. His acceleration was pretty good, and he transitioned all the way through. And his when he got into max velocity, it was smooth, man. The race didn't look forced at all, and I compared it to DK's race where it looked very forced towards the end. His form was starting to fall apart a bit,
yeah.
but he held it together better than I expected, and I thought he was always
You
going
could
to do well.
tell you could tell his weight started to get to him in the last 20 meters.
Yeah,
When
I
these
mean, yeah.
guys reach their top turnover and their max velocity, his max velocity was probably at 50, 60 meters when these
Yeah,
guys were
man.
hitting at 80, 90.
It looks like he started coming up around. He honestly started coming up around like I'd say 20. He was way
Yeah.
too. He was upright. He was upright maybe like 5 to 7 meters before, maybe 10 before Craven Gillespie came up,
Yeah.
and you could tell because as the athletes transition, and their turnover was looking very neat. DK looked like he was kind of forcing his way to the end of the race.
Yeah.
But it was amazing, dude. But I honestly wanted to see if I could find the post race interview because he was super humble about it. But let me see if I can
Yeah,
find it.
he in the post race interview, he was very thankful for the opportunity. He talked about the way that this could be one of the first steps, like I had said in our pre-race video, how this is a way that we could branch, the first step to branch track into the other sports.
Right.
It doesn't have to be NFL, but this is definitely one sport where we could definitely do definitely
Exactly.
do some good. We could do some more crossover stuff to where track guys like Usain Bolt are running the 40, stuff like that. Like, it's definitely something where this is definitely the beginning of something that can be really good for not only track but the NFL as well.
Okay, so I found the clip. Let me play it for you.
That's your time that you came in here today. Your thoughts on just how you performed? Man, just happy to be here. Excited to have the opportunity. Just thank God for the opportunity to just come out here and run against world-class athletes like this. Right. I referenced the Buda Baker rundown, which was just a huge NFL moment, a huge sporting moment, and that's where all the generated talk came from that got you here. What made you make the decision to drop your shoes on the track and that little video you tweeted and ultimately come out here and run against these guys today? Just working out. I mean, just to test my speed up against world-class athletes like this. Like I said, man, just had the opportunity to come out here and run against these guys was just a blessing. Yeah, you weren't afraid of the risk of what might happen in terms of just your profile and just your speed on the field, which we all love to see. Why were you not afraid to risk it? Because I'm a football player and an athlete first, and a man of God. So I just do things because I want to do it.
That's basically dude. Yeah, man. It was great to hear that because super humble guy. Hold on, yeah.
So I mean, you heard it in the clip, bro. Like, humble man. He said, "I'm just working out, man." Like, and it's true, bro, because he really wasn't out there to try to embarrass anybody or make track and field look bad. He was just happy to be there. Thankful for the opportunity, and he really was working out, man. Like, with that training, a lot of football players don't have, that training of how to run correctly.
No,
imagine how that's gonna help him next year as a receiver. It's gonna help.
Tell for the first 30 meters he was running like a track athlete, and the last 60 he was running like an NFL player.
Yeah, but I mean that exactly. But that's kind of what I was expecting, because what I expected going into the race was, all right, well, he has a lot of strength potential. He's super strong. He's genetically gifted. He is fast, and he's powerful, right? So I was like, what he's really gonna kind of catch on to in the short amount of time he can train is probably his block start, because they're gonna have to focus a lot on that, right? We got to start somewhere, right? So this block start, I feel like he was gonna catch on to, right? Obviously, he's already trained for a 40 coming into the combine, so it's not too different from learning how to set up so you can kind of understand that.
You have all right. So let's say you have guys like DK, right? Who we know are the bigger guys who are not very much the track guys. But then you have, for example, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was a very, very accomplished track athlete in high school.
He's also not as big as Tyreek. He's more of the build as these track athletes.
The speed that he has and the experience that he has in the track, if you had put him out there, I think he would have ran a 10-1.
And let me rephrase that. It's not terrible, but there's room for improvement. So imagine
but I think he has the speed and the experience to where he probably could have went 10-1.
Exactly.
He probably could have kept even with that group. Nobody went crazy. Nobody broke 10 until the finals.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing a lot of dudes now coming into the NFL who are actually practicing speed work with track.
Or you have guys like Anthony Schwartz who competed for Auburn.
Exactly. Bro, and it's like there's a lot of football players saying we need to be fast. So they're making the bridge into track and field training, right? And just like we talked about before, track and field training is also evolving, more science-based, not as much theory-based. And with that, other sports are saying, look, man, if you're fast in any sport, it's going to give you an advantage, right?
Yeah.
If you're a fast soccer player, it's going to give you an advantage. If you're a fast rugby player, advantage. Basketball, it doesn't really matter the sport. I mean, speed, it's never going to hurt,
Yeah.
So it's like, I think athletes are starting to say, man, it's important for us to be fast. So they're trying to learn how to run. And it's honestly, it's changing the game, man, because there's so many fast NFL players now. It's going to be unheard of to be slow. Just like how that was how basketball, it changed from everybody can shoot now. There's somebody who can.
Well, that's the thing. You can see it. We saw it, especially in this past draft. My favorite team's the Giants, so I could use them as a good example here. They wanted Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner, at I believe it was the 11th overall pick. The Eagles traded up and ended up drafting him. So the Giants traded back with the Chicago Bears to the 20th pick, and they drafted Kadarius. I think his name's Kadarius Toney. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. But he's a very small but fast build. He's an Odell Beckham type. He's 5'10", 185. He's got like a 4.3 speed, but like everyone's saying now, and draft analysts are saying it, like all of these guys are going after the Tyreek Hill type. It's like
Exactly,
in the
man.
NBA, everyone was going, once Steph Curry started taking over with the 3-pointers.
Exactly.
Like, all right,
Everybody
you want a guy
wants
who
the
can
shooter.
shoot. You want a 3-point shooter no matter his build. A guy like Giannis 20 years ago wouldn't be shooting 3-pointers like he does.
Right, yeah, exactly. The game has like we watched the NBA switch from LeBron type players, big, bang around in the post, dunk, finish, attacking player, right? And then a pioneer, Stephen Curry, who there was more players before Steph who've done it who don't get their credit, like Steve Nash is, but like Steph Curry comes into the game and completely, transcends. Now everybody wants to shoot, right? Now everybody in high school wants to shoot. Now everybody in college wants to shoot. Kids coming up want to shoot. So it changes and it shifts the game, right?
And it's like the same thing in the NFL, where you had your Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, all Vincent Jackson, all these guys who are big body receivers, and like they're your 6'3", 220 DK Metcalf style receivers. Right. And then you have your Tyreek Hill or your 5'10", like Deshaun Jackson, like type builds, where these guys are turning. They get more into the track speed, and they don't need a body defenders and maul these guys. They can just run right past them.
Man. No one's catching them. They kill them with speed, and I think that that's the adjustment that's coming. And I think with that, and draft analysts know it, coaches know it, trainers know it, athletes know it, right? With that, the demand for track and field type training, speed work, which is usually taught by coaches with a track background, right, or track athletes that they train, is going to be the new way of training, right? Because
I think it's not going to be a new way, but like it's just going to be an added on. Like it's going to be something that it's going to be included. Like it's been there. They might have done it like little bits, like how we use like sleds and doing like track, like we do sled training here at school. Like they do that there, but it might become more of, especially with running backs and wide receivers, it might become more of a priority.
Yeah, and I didn't mean new one. I mean speed focused. It's going to be a priority. It's going to be incorporated into the training, right? Yeah. We're not really. I mean, honestly, no one really cares. I did this video and I posted it on my Instagram the other day. I was talking about how I see too many athletes who are like recording themselves trying to like bench fucking or shit. I'll cut that out. I see too many athletes trying to squat 500 and bench 300 and do all these crazy heavy things, right? And then they are not good, and they're just not good. And I'm like okay, cool.
There was another podcast I had seen. I forget the name of it. But they were compared. Like DK and Aaron Donald were on it, and the guy hosting them asked what's your bench? And DK's like, I could probably bench more than Aaron. And Aaron Donald's like, bro, I bench 500 pounds. He's like, damn, I bench 350. Like you can't expect to be benching 500. Not everybody's Saquon. Saquon is the anomaly where he can do whatever he wants.
Exactly.
And he still has the speed.
There are those genetic freaks, but I think too many people think that they need to do that to be effective when that's not true.
And they don't.
There's the Chad Johnsons of the world, the Chad Ochocinco's who are like the skinnier frame built, the Justin Jeffersons, right? The skinnier frame built people, right? There is a type of genetics that comes into it too, right? So maybe you don't lift that much, but just because you don't doesn't mean that you're not good. Like you don't need to lift 500 pounds to be an effective athlete. You can, but the main focus should be getting better at your sport and doing what's necessary for your position, bro. Because too many athletes, like you even know ourselves, bro. Freshmen come in every single year
Yep.
They don't understand that. I mean, there's some who don't. And as you go to a higher level, Division I schools, you see better athletes who have had good high school training. But there's a lot of athletes who have subpar high school coaches, right? And they have no clue why they're doing things. Then they come in, they're like, yo, when are we gonna squat? When are we like, no, bro, like we're hitting bands today. We have mobility, we have flexibility, because it's directly impacting our position, our sport.
Right. Like me in high school, like our team, our competition, all of the guys are in our conference, in our state, and our county. They were always these big, like football player built guys that are all jacked out of their minds, but were very stiff when they ran. And they always saw us as lesser. They always saw us as lesser competition because we were just these skinny dudes. We hit the gym maybe twice, 3 times a week, right? Like we never went to the gym. Like we rarely went to the gym. We were strictly like we would do so much like distance, like endurance training, but also a lot of sprint work, a lot of like speed stuff to where we didn't need to go to the gym because our speed could compensate for that. And we were the ones winning. We could be the skinny guy and win and sweep all of our events. We didn't have to worry about being the big body.
Yeah, bro. And it's like, it should be a focus. Like the weight room should complement your skill work, right? So like that's one thing that I think is super important is like, it shouldn't be like, I'm trying to be a bodybuilder and also be good at my sport. No, they're not separate, right? You're not just in the weight room here and then on the field here, right? No, it's together. So if you're a track and field athlete, you're going to train a different way than a power lifter is. You're not here to deadlift all that weight or squat all that weight or bench all that weight. What in the weight room is going to make you more effective on the track? And too many athletes do not focus on that, bro. It's how much can you lift? How much can you do that? But I mean, it's a simple-minded type of thing. It's like you have to learn it, bro.
There's things like Mila where like I'm like 153, 155 in my weight. And I know from talking to my chiropractor back home, my massage therapist who do Olympic weightlifting, they used to be bodybuilders, but they also understand that I'm a track athlete. I'm not a bodybuilder.
Exactly.
And they want to get me back. They want to get me up to like 165, 170 in my weight this summer. It's going to take a lot, but I'm not trying to do it in bodybuilding ways. I want to, use it to eat. I want to be by eating healthier, by lifting the correct way, not trying to, PR every time I lift, but
not trying to get huge.
Instead train to build my body up to where, because I'm a 400 runner. I don't need that, that explosiveness muscle. I just need that endurance muscle.
I mean, there's a certain level of explosiveness you need, but your goal isn't to be huge,
Exactly, right. But there's people who, there's guys who don't understand that there's a difference between gaining muscle for a 400, gaining muscle for an 800, gaining muscle for a 10K, and gaining a muscle for a 100-meter. There's different types of gaining muscle because you need to gain muscle for different reasons. I need to have a full body muscle because I'm a longer sprint event. I need to have the strength in my upper body as much as I do in my lower. When it comes to 100-meter sprinters, it's a little different. They can compensate more in the legs because they need that explosiveness.
I don't need to be out running miles. Like when I was in track, it's not necessary for us to be out there running miles, right? There's obviously going to be some sprinters who are built a little different who run the same event, right? So, I ran the 100. So me and your training, there was some similarities. As a 400 runner, you still need to do speed work, but then we're right at the gap where the training switches. All right. So, as a sprinter, our training was different in a way that as a 100-meter runner, you don't need to be out running miles a day. It's just going to slow you down. It's not going to make you faster. The whole point, just like we were talking about, bro, the intent is everything that I'm doing is to make me faster, to make me more powerful, to make me more explosive, to help with my speed endurance. Like you have to train you have to train with the mindset of a sprinter, not I sprint and then I'm going to go in the gym and just lift as much weight as possible.
Right.
Like it doesn't help. And I see so many people do that, bro, and it triggers me. Because I'm just like, why are you just doing yourself a serious disservice? Then they stay subpar, but they're like, yo, I mean, I don't get why I'm not better. Like I'm lifting more weight in the gym. I'm like, all right, but what does it have to do with your what does it have to do with anything? Are
Right,
you a
like
powerlifter now?
I get comments from people like, "Oh, you're too skinny, like you're a twig." I'm like, "All right, but like I'm not a 100-meter runner. I don't need they get these like these visuals of Usain Bolt and all these guys that are big body
Right.
100-meter
But
sprinters. I'm like, "Bro, I don't need that."
Usain Bolt isn't even built like a 100 runner,
Right,
bro.
but he's
He's like
not.
a
But like
400 runner.
compared to 400-meter athletes, he's on the bigger side.
He is. But I mean, like, he is pretty much if you look at him and you know track, but say nobody knew him, right? But you know track, you would say, oh, he probably runs the 200 and the 400, right? No, but he's a 100-meter runner and he's so effective because he is different. But it's the fact that, like, man, like, you have to train to your position, right? If I see, like, maybe it's just this thing, like, a lot of athletes, maybe it's just because they don't know, but I see a lot of football players do it the most. Like, I think they mistake themselves for power lifters. And I'm like, what you're doing should be done to improve your position.
Right.
If it isn't, you're just wasting time because it doesn't matter. Like, you're just gonna, like, if all you do is deadlifts as heavy as you can, you're not gonna be a better football player. You're just gonna be really good at deadlifting as heavy as you can. You know?
Yeah.
At that point, you're just training like a power lifter. So yeah, like, being sports specific with your training and understanding why you should be doing stuff is big, man. Like,
yeah. And so guys like Rai Benjamin, who we'll talk more in depth about his race this past weekend later, but like I've seen videos of him and his body, right? He's like a 6'3". I think he's like 6'3". That's what he looks like on TV and stuff, interviews. But he's not the strongest looking guy. But this man can run around at 400 hurdles faster than a lot of people can go around a normal 400. Right? Like he has a different type of build than most guys, and honestly than most 400 hurdlers. And you can compare him to like him and this guy Dos Santos, who's Brazilian, who had the world lead in the 400 hurdles before Rai ran, and they're very much on the skinnier side. They're very much more lean, and they have the endurance muscle. And I think that's something that we like. I think kind of cuts off at the 200, 400, right? Like you have like the 100 and 200 strength, then you have the 400 hurdles, 800 strength, and then 1500 and above.
Amazing thing with Lou, like, you could line us up from events, right? Like, you could line up me, you could line up you and Donald, you could line up the 800 plus guys, you could line up cross country throwers, shot put, and we all look jumpers, all look different. Like, jumpers typically are very stocky, but skinny, stocky. They got big shoulders.
Yeah,
they have big quads, but they're like they're muscular. There's very little long jumpers I've seen who are not muscular, right? Like, they're very muscular. They're very in shape people, flexible people, right? You can line, like, that's the amazing thing about track, but it's in every single sport, right? You line a position up, it's going to look different from another position. Point guard in the center, wide receiver in the O-line, 100-meter in a cross-country athlete, it's just like that. Exactly. Purposes. So why would we all train the same? It doesn't make sense. So it's like, I think people need to break out that mode. They're like, oh, they just must be different. No, we all train different, which makes us look different. We all train specific to our sport, and we live a lifestyle where we're constantly doing that, and we adapt. So everybody's adapting to a different way, right? I am the way I look because I adapted to the sorry. No, it's not good. No. Dude, I can't see it. I'm good. I adapted to the position that I was in. You adapted to the position you were in, and it's just how sports are. So we have to always make sure we remember to like train like the sport we play. Yeah. And moving on. Let's talk about that 400-meter race, man.
Yeah, 400 hurdles this past weekend, all at the Golden Games, or in Eugene, I think it was, or something like that. I think it was at the Golden Games at the Mount Sec relays. He ran it was a season opener and he went 47-1 in his season opener, and I think that put the 400 hurdle event, especially going into the Olympics in 2 months, he put Carson Warholm on notice. Carson hasn't run yet this year, which is which is interesting because it's still to be determined what he can do. But from what Rai showed, he was not going 100%, and that man went 47-1 in his season opener. And his hurdles looked mostly clean, but he definitely could have improved. He had great motion throughout everything. And I think that man is the 400 hurdle world record's going down at the Olympics. I'm willing to bet all that I have 400 hurdle world record is going down this year. If Carson's even in the same shape or even a little better shape than Rai is right now, that battle is probably going to be one of the most electric events in the Olympics this year in track and field. I can promise you right now, those guys, they are on a different breed right now. And
dude, the Olympics are going to be great this year for track, man.
Yeah. And just to see Rai run 47-1 in his opener with Dos Santos, who had the world lead going into that race, run with him, and he made Dos Santos look stupid. Like he took advantage of having Dos Santos on his outside, and he just took him apart. And I think he definitely is someone to look out for when it comes to the 400 hurdles. And I definitely see him as a key member of that 4x4. I think this year he can definitely make a push to Carson to see, for that 400 hurdle title at the Olympics.
Yeah, man. And dude, I just wanted to say one thing I was thinking about. I don't know how I'd word it, but I think something that would be really cool and good for branching track out, right, would be like maybe like a summer meet for other athletes, right? So like other athletes from different sports, like, yeah, we always want to play football or basketball, right? But how cool would it be to see other athletes run like a meet, right? So
it would be interesting, but it's definitely going to be tough because
it would be tough. I just think that would be a kind of a crazy concept.
That would definitely, yeah. But like we could have you could definitely do NFL players because they'll be in their off season. NBA will be in their off season. Baseball players are in season, so you can't really use
right.
Hockey players, maybe. I don't
That'd
know.
That would be
guys like
hilarious,
Connor
man.
McDavid are pretty.
Connor McDavid's fast. Connor McDavid is fast. I have a film review that I did for one athlete who played hockey, him and his brother, and I reviewed Connor McDavid accelerating.
Yeah,
and it was super cool.
But they're in their off season. Soccer players, you could definitely get soccer players involved. Those guys are very quick, but they're in their
their max velocity. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, but that's something that would have to take a lot of time and work to try and create all that.
It definitely would. It probably will never happen.
Probably not. It's a good thought, in theory, but I don't think that would happen. But it would have certainly made for something very interesting for sure.
That's man. And then another topic, man. What we're trying to do more of is just like talk about some like unrelated things from track, because it kind of separates us from every other it separates us from every other sports podcast, right? So like we're just gonna start talking about some like just topics in our life, just kind of like letting you guys see a different angle from us. So like I have one question, right? So you can ask me one if you think of one or anything, but it's just kind of dude, this is like totally unprepared, just spontaneous. But we have
a question for me that I have I don't even know before. So you guys are seeing it as I am. So
what is your worst sport experience in like another sport? So another sport you did, maybe it's a camp, maybe something, but it was a terrible experience and you never did it again.
Well, I was about maybe 12 years old, 13 years old. My mother, I love her dearly. She decided to not tell me and put me into fencing. And yeah, I had never heard of the sport at the time. I was like, I have no clue what I'm getting myself involved in. I looked it up on Google and I saw those guys poking each other with sticks.
Yeah,
I'm like,
well,
what the
yeah.
hell is happening, right? I lasted 6 months. I actually got pretty good at it, right?
Did
Like
you spend half a
the
year
coach
fencing?
was some like tiny Russian woman. She thought I did really well and she wanted to take me to some tournament in Texas,
Bro,
right?
you were D1 bound in fencing, bro.
I was D1 bound in fencing, right? And I was like, oh my, like this is like, what am I getting myself involved in? There was like a bunch of us, like some guys, some girls. It was like maybe like 6 of us, right? And in this, I guess, team. But we would practice against each other, hold like little mini tournaments within our own team to compete against each other. And I ended up actually doing really well. But then like within our team, but then she wanted to take me to this tournament in Texas, right? And she was like, you know, to be able to go to this, you're gonna have to buy your own equipment. We'll travel, I'll pay for your flight and all that, but you have to buy your own equipment. The equipment needed to come out to about $2,000 to $3,000.
Yo, it don't
I
look cheap,
said
but
to my
you
mother
gotta get that.
straight up, I was like, listen, it was a great thought, but it was 6 months in. I was like, I'm done. We're not doing it.
Bro, you have to buy that whole. Tell me the fencing outfit don't look just
Bro,
like
there was the
the people who be
shoes.
the
There
people
was
who be
the
going to get the people who be going to get the bees with the little honeycombs. They be wearing that white suit.
yeah. Don't even get me
Yeah,
started. It was I had to get the shoes. I had to get the pants. There were a specific
all white.
like trench coat that I basically was wearing. I had to wear the helmet. You know, with the face guard on it. I had to buy the 3 separate swords. I can't even tell you
Three
the name.
swords.
Yeah, there's 3 different. They were called swords. I don't even know the name of them. I had to get I had to get gloves. It was just a whole fiasco that we were like, okay, this was. I don't know why we did this to ourselves, but yeah, we did it.
Bro, I had.
What do you
You keep
got? You
going.
got one for me?
Yeah, dude, I do. Were you done with that, or did
Oh
you
yeah,
like
yeah,
have
yeah. Yeah.
Dude, dude, I think I have a couple. My mom loves sticking me in stuff when I was younger, against my will. Just kidding. But like, I think it was probably I did jujitsu for a
Mhm.
while, man, and I hated it. I hated it, man. Um, Actually, I'll tell you one that I kind of surprisingly liked and one that I didn't. So this one is the one I didn't. So my mom stuck me in jujitsu like my 7th grade year because like I was like pretty like insecure about the way I looked. Like puberty was kind of hitting hard. Things were changing in my body, and I she was like, "Oh, just go to jujitsu." So like to kind of help you like feel better about like people were like mess with me or something. She was like, "You'll probably feel a lot better if you know that none of them can do anything to you." And like, not even that. Like, I'm trying to word it the right way. Like, I was like, "Hey, mom, like if I know that like I'm tougher than these dudes, then nothing that they say is really gonna get to my head." So I did that, and I went in it, and I was just uncomfortable all the time in there, and I didn't know anybody, and like nobody was like really that friendly in my class. And it used to be like pain. Like my mom would have to drag me in every day. I was trying to find some way out every single class. We had like 3 classes a week, and it was like tough, and it was super sweaty, and everybody smelled gross. And I mean, I was surprisingly like pretty good. Basically, my favorite move was like I would just lay. It was like the Superman. I called it. I don't know what it was really called, but I would like kind of sit on somebody's chest, pause, and I would like put my put my chest over their face and like spread my arms, and I would like suffocate them basically until they tap.
Oh
And
boy.
there was this one girl in the class who used to really just beat everyone up, and it was just like everybody was like looked like an MMA athlete, like buzz
Right.
cuts, cauliflower ears, and like I was like, bro, this is not for me. I won one tournament. Like we had this like testing thing, I guess. I guess you tested and you like have open fights. But you just
Yeah.
fight. Like you just fight. Okay, and this kid's family was here to watch him, and I fought him, and I messed, and like dude, I embarrassed him in front of his family. Felt bad, but I won like a Yogi Castle. I think it's like a yogurt place. I don't know what exactly it's called, but I won like a free frozen yogurt card, and that was pretty dope. And yeah, man, I quit after that because I hated it. But that was my story. And then I like one that I had was good. It was kind of unexpected. Was I was in like sixth grade or something. Might have been fifth grade. I did like a lacrosse camp, and dude, I was kind of nasty to be honest. I didn't care about
You're a
passing.
relaxed boy.
Did for a week and a half. I might as well have got the mullet while I was at it, man. Like for like a week, I was a lax boy, and I was just tearing stuff up, man. I was hitting people when I wasn't supposed to. Basically,
That's
played with no rules. Just scored goals. Didn't care
Yeah.
about passing. Wasn't there for the team, but it's fine,
That's
man.
great.
Yeah, dude.
How's work going now?
Work's good, man. Busy. Reaching out to athletes. Always trying to grow. Got my new setup. Been recording a lot of videos. Got my content days scheduled out and stuff. So I'm just putting things out consistently now. That's something I'm glad I got better, more consistent, more organized. So things are falling in place. Much
good.
success to come. How are you expecting the internship to go?
Yeah, it's gonna take up a lot of my time this summer, for sure. It's gonna basically be a 9 to 5 for 10 weeks.
But at least it's online.
Yeah, so it's a virtual internship with the Department of Energy and their Office of Radiological Security. But yeah, it's gonna be good. It's definitely something that's exciting. It's new. I don't have much experience, so it's gonna be definitely very much of a learning curve for me.
Just be open-minded, man.
Yeah. It's definitely gonna be exciting. It just for people listening, don't forget to keep up with your academics because I very easily could have just focused on my athletics and not on my academics. And if I did that, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be where I am, to have the opportunity to have that internship.
Yeah, man, for
And
sure. Focus on, yeah, man. Focus on something, man. Have something else. Don't just be, for all the athletes watching or for anybody else, don't just be defined by the one thing that you do. Don't let like Kobe said at one time, don't let your sport define you, define your sport, right? So be more than the athlete, because just as we try to focus on a lot on this podcast, man, is to don't just be an athlete, but there's the person to you. That's why you guys get to see us as the people we are, not just the pictures we post on Instagram or the meet times or the videos or the workout compilation or highlight videos, and like we are or more where there were people, right? So be that person. Focus on something, have a craft outside of your sport as well, because at some point you're going to have to put the ball, or in our case, the spikes up, and you're going to have to impact the world in some way. You're going to have to obviously earn your income, and you're going to have to just be happy and be productive in a different way. Doesn't mean you have to let go of it. It just means that you have to figure out what is your next, like, what are you going to do? So, I mean, for me, I had to figure out what I wanted to be. And for Ethan, he has to figure out what we wanted to be, right? And we talk about it all the time, man. Like, don't let your sport define you, basically. Anything else you want to say about that?
We're both doing really well for ourselves right now, but we took different paths. There's definitely as you guys can tell from both of us, that there's more than one path to get where you want, or to at least start that first step to your path. That it doesn't always have to be a one-way road. There's more than one opportunity.
Exactly, man. There is, I think, a lot of the older generations and a lot of people who are too scared to take a risk on anything in their life and bet on themselves. Like, you guys know, like, my motto that I have in my Instagram for my Tone Performance one is bet on yourself, right? Because nobody else gonna do it if you don't do it for yourself first, right? Everybody else will follow, but you have to make the move, man. Like, maybe school isn't the route for you, maybe sports isn't the route for you anymore, but in no way am I swaying anybody to pick any way that's for you. But don't let anybody shoot down what your dreams and your goals are. And it's not everybody's job to understand what you're doing, and just have that that unaffected drive, man. There's been so many people who shot me and Ethan down when it came to track, who didn't think we'd ever be here, and were the first people to want to say they knew you, or the first people
Yep.
to say congratulations to you when you make your commitment post, or a lot. They're like, you can't expect people to understand what you do. So that's the one thing that helped me not get mad and sad was, I mean, I could be mad that they don't believe and they hate on me and they're mean, but how could I expect them to see things from my angle? Because that that difference is what's going to take you there, because so many people get comfortable being a part of the pack. They just want to be like, they don't want to stand out because it's too hard for them to stand out. They don't want the attention. They don't want the hate, the criticism that comes with being different. They're not willing to sacrifice. And that's why we are the 1% who got there. Like, what is it, like 0.03 people would play a Division I sport from high school? What is it, some crazy stat like that, man?
It's under 1%.
Exactly. And you wonder why it's like that is for a reason. It's not because the world's unfair, where, I mean, not everything with recruiting is fair and sports is fair, but it's not because it's not fair and everybody should be there. It's because not a lot of people are willing to do what it takes to get there. So, I mean, there's limited spots. So what are you going to do that makes you different from everybody else that's going to make you deserve a spot? And it's not just like that in sports. It's like that in life. What do you bring? You know, what will you offer as a human being, as a person, man? Like, don't ever stop. Don't ever let people define what you do, man. You gotta be somewhat crazy, bro. You have to be crazy enough to have people telling you no all the time and then still do it. People telling you you can't do something and you still do it, bro. All people told me was, you know how little people get there, focus on school, focus on that. And I still did it despite everybody telling me different, bro, because I had this crazy drive that no matter what anybody said, I was going to make it anyways. I didn't care what the stats were.
Yeah.
And y'all got to have that, bro. Like, that's really the only way you're going to be successful at that next level, because no matter how you don't train right, the people at the next level do. You don't eat right, the people at the next level do. You don't sleep enough, the people at the next level do. You always got to be able to control what you can't control, because there's a lot you can't. And it's going to just, no matter what's stacked against you, bro, like, bro, I just slipped through the cracks. I was never top there. I was for a little bit in my high school, but even then, when it comes to the state, I really wasn't. Like, I just kept slipping through the cracks. I went through a D3 school, slipped my way through the cracks, literally fought my way to be seen, and then I had to slide through the cracks again. Like, if you, bro, maybe I don't care if you're not right, bro. If you just need to get there, if you just get there every time, you're gonna be so much farther than the people who don't, bro. Like, you have to be super persistent, because you may have everything stacked against you, but your work ethic is gonna take you farther than the people who don't. Man,
100%.
straight talent isn't gonna take you.
100%. So that's it for today. For this
Yeah,
week.
yo.
It was a great video. Great talking to you. Great, putting out
Always.
some great content. Yeah, so we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully some more interesting stuff to talk about, with ACC championships being this week and some other stuff upcoming. We'll talk to you guys soon. Ethan, Antonio, we'll see you guys next time.
Next Friday, man. Get y'all next Friday.